Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Today, I'm joined by Eva Alexandridis, the brilliant mind behind one of the most luxurious skincare brands on the market, 111 Skin. With a background in business, Eva teamed up with her husband to create a skincare line that has evolved into a global phenomenon. So, let's find out why she's a lady who launched. Right, before we get into it, if you like this episode, which I know you're going to, please don't forget to like and subscribe and to share it to your group chat. Thank you so much for coming here. I'm so excited to sit and talk to you. You know this, I've been such a big fan of the brand for so long and use your brand. So it's so nice to sit and talk to you about it. But I always like to begin these interviews by sort of digging a little bit into early life for you and how you become the entrepreneur that you are. So tell us a little bit about growing up. What was it like? Were there any sort of entrepreneurial influences around you at that point?
Yes, first of all, I'm super happy to be here. And I'm especially happy because I know you have connected with us and with the brand organically for many, many
Long
years.
time.
So it's a pleasure to meet you in person, even though we already have our,
We know, yeah. I
our
feel like I know
social
all about
connection.
you. Yes.
So I do have quite a simple journey. I was born in Bulgaria, in Eastern Europe. I had a very, very calm upbringing. I lived in a very small apartment with my grandmother, my grandfather, and my parents. It was a very happy childhood, but I was surrounded by Bulgarians, and everything was every day was almost the same. And I think when I had an opportunity, I think I was one of the very first people to be able to study abroad in a Western world, because the Berlin Wall had just fallen down in 1989. I was really mesmerized by the world outside of Eastern Europe. And
that's quite a brave to when I think of like when people grow up and it's quite, I suppose, like small town as you would sort of call it, and everyone does the same sort of thing, and like you say, it kind of becomes the norm. For you to not conform to that and do something that is quite risky or quite a bold move and be the one that studies somewhere else, that does take some bravery.
I think I have to give full credit to my mom. My mom was an air hostess, so she was already exposed to the wider world. We were not allowed to travel anywhere outside of Eastern Europe, so we would only be able to go to Poland or Russia or Eastern Germany. And unfortunately, this country kind of looked the same. There was not too many things to visually be able to buy and see. Everything was like a bit gray. There was beautiful nature, but that was about it. And my mom had an opportunity to travel the world. And when actually in 1989, I was supposed to study in Moscow. And my mom came to me and said, look, if you have a chance to go anywhere outside of Eastern Europe, I would really support you. So she had opened up the horizons for me, because she had seen the world. I mean, we really lived in a completely isolated place.
Right. And I suppose knowing that if you're going to do something that does feel quite bold, that actually you've got that safety net of, and that might not be in terms of finances or in terms of lifestyle, but actually the safety net of the support of your mum and the backing of a parent when you want to make a bold move, to know that you feel supported in that decision is always so, so important, right?
No, I mean, for me, there was always home to come back to. I did not immigrate. I went to study in San Francisco. From all the places but it's so far. It wasn't so much, there was no reason into why I went to in San Francisco. It was really, I had to do some tests, SATs, TOEFL at that time, and this university accepted me with a scholarship, but we didn't have research papers to understand which university is better than others. So I ended up in San Francisco, which was really far. But I always felt, and I think this was very important, that my family is home and I can always go home.
Yes.
So that
But
was
it's lucky to have that, because not everybody does have that. And I've spoke to different entrepreneurs and different female founders, and when they've made like quite what seems to them bold risks, you know, which I suppose going to San Francisco to study is very far and a completely different lifestyle, that actually they felt a lot of pressure because there was a feeling of you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't you should be living the similar life to everybody else around you. So to have that support is a privilege in itself, isn't it?
yeah, it was definitely, it gave me a sense of I have to try my best, but
Yeah.
if it doesn't work out, I just go home
I go
to my
home.
small little country,
Exactly.
in my small little apartment, and I'll be surrounded with people that love me. I mean, having said that, I did have their support, but financially, we were coming from Eastern Europe. We had so very little resources, and I think I went with $2,000, which was pretty much all of our family's savings, from uncles to grandparents. And I ran out of money quite quickly. I was, living in a tiny little hostel, and I had to start working. And I really appreciate it. It took me quite a few years to actually admit to people what kind of jobs I was doing.
Really?
Because I worked as a cleaner for more than 1.5 years. And I used to hide that because I thought it was not cool. But now I actually put so much value into this, because when you have no choices, you have to do the things that are important to keep going, and that was the only job available to
You
me.
have to be resourceful, of course. And do you think that you hid that from people, and I suppose friends and associates at the time, because of that fear of judgment?
Yeah, because at first I was feeling insecure from coming back from Eastern Europe and not having had the full exposure of things,
Yes.
possessions, and what kind of clothes I had, what kind of things I owned.
Yeah.
I owned very little. Everything was in a small suitcase. And then I had to, when my friends in college were studying or going out doing trips, I had to go to people's homes and clean.
Yeah.
So I was feeling quite insecure, but now when I see the passage of time, I'm so happy I did this job. And it's funny because I do have someone that helps me with the cleaning in my house. And I tell her, I know how you feel. I have
Yes.
done this job and you're doing a great job. And she looks at me, she doesn't believe that I've done it. And
the value, and I suppose those moments really teach you the value of everything in terms of finances, in terms of the value of people's time and the effort and what it takes to do jobs like,
And also knowing what you don't want to do, because
Yeah.
I was a terrible cleaner. I was really awful. And it was funny because actually the families that I used to, do this job, they were telling me, Eva, you're not made for this job, but we like you so much. We're rooting for you. Like, we're supporting you. And actually one of the families I worked in, they suggested for me to do babysitting. And when I did my first babysitting job, I'm like, oh, this is heaven. I was so thankful because instead of like doing cleaning and doing the vacuuming all day, you're in the park with children, you're
Yes.
laughing and playing. So it gives you perspective of what you want to do and what you don't want to do, but also
Yes.
perspective of money, because I was earning for the first time my own money when I was 18 years old. And it teaches you the value of really planning your own resources.
And I suppose that level of independence too, like being out there and doing it for yourself and knowing that you're responsible for this, that level of independence grows quite quickly. So at university, you studied business.
Yes.
And did you enjoy that whole experience? Did you always know you wanted to study business?
So, no, I had no idea what I wanted to study. I don't think I knew until my late 20s, early 30s what I wanted to do. So for people out there, there is hope. If you don't have everything figured out at 18, 20, 25, I started my company in my 30s. So I didn't know what I wanted to study. I was a terrible student. I did not take school very seriously, which I actually regret now, and I'm trying to teach my children. I have a boy now in university, and I have a younger one who is in school. And the advice that I have been giving them is that you do need to focus on a few core skills, and especially when it comes to accounting, statistics, just understanding in general how to understand finances. or if they like another discipline, just to pretty much understand, go deeper into the knowledge of a certain discipline, if it happens to be creating art or digital, learn as much as possible, equip yourself with skills. So I was a bad student. I studied international business, and I did masters in electronic commerce, and honestly, I don't believe I've learned much in school.
Really?
Yeah, but I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I was in San Francisco during the Silicon Valley boom. So even though education didn't give me much advantage in life, I think being surrounded by people who are creating companies, finding opportunities, being in the middle of this ultra creative space in time, where actually the whole Silicon Valley boom just happened in front of my eyes, I think gave me the opportunity to understand that everything is possible, and
Yes.
you can create a company if you see that something is missing. And that was exactly what was happening in Silicon Valley then.
Right, so let's talk about starting the company, because we talk about ladies who launch on this podcast, and this is what we're all about. But one key part of being a lady who launches, knowing that men need to be our allies in the best way possible. So you started the company with your husband, which I kind of love this whole idea, because there are so many questions I've got from like the concept to creation of the company, but to also working with your husband so closely, and the dynamic of that and how that plays out. So what inspired you both to start this together?
It's great you asking me this question after I said about my time in San Francisco, because I think if it wasn't for me being exposed to that environment, I would not have suggested for Yanis this idea. So my husband is a triple board certified plastic surgeon. He did his
By
residency.
the way, absolutely incredible. I wish my husband was a plastic surgeon.
He loves his art and craft, which is plastic surgery. He studied in the States, and he was very exposed to all the latest trends in plastic surgery,
Right.
but also non-surgical treatments. And when he set up his business here, he set up his office very much like what you told me. He started in a small room in the basement in Harley Street. He wanted to combine surgical, non-surgical, and also skincare, because
Right.
he believed, this was 2000, so he believed in this wave of 360 approach to beauty. It was highly, highly unusual then, because either you're a plastic surgeon or you're a dermatologist or you were doing
Yes.
non-surgical. People are quite
Everybody had their different
profiled.
lanes. Yeah.
Exactly. And for him to integrate everything was very, very, it was unheard of. So he was using doctor brands from the United States, which he loved. He believed in them, and he understood that there's more science in scientific skincare. His patients, on the other hand, were very much, they were using department store brands like Crème de la Mer and beautiful Chanel, Dior, beautiful brands, and they were not very much reacting positively towards more simple brands. Even though they believed in the science of what Yanis was prescribing, they would still fall back into their beautiful
Almost
brands.
that like luxury
Exactly.
kind of,
They were
yeah.
missing the luxury.
The aesthetic.
And also the scientific brands that he was giving them were quite regimented. So he would prescribe something very strict, like morning 3 drops, afternoon
Right.
this, in the evening something. It's
Like an
very, it's a
intense
prescription.
routine, yeah.
Exactly. And so he was coming to me and telling me, I don't understand why my patients just don't want to use the products that I prescribe to them. And because it's quite a serious regime, if you don't use it right, actually can have an opposite effect. And so I said to him, well, maybe it's too complicated for them. And why don't you bring another brand that merges both? It can be quite regimented, scientific, but at the same time, beautiful on application. So they fall in love with using the
Yes.
products. And he said, well, I don't think these products exist. And because I was exposed to all my friends creating all sorts of companies, if there was no dog food department store, they would create it. If there was no,
Yes.
I mean, that was the time Google was created, and so many brands were created in San Francisco. So I said, well, if it doesn't exist, why don't you create it? And I think this was kind of like where two founders are better than one, because I gave him the idea, but I needed him because he had the science and the knowledge and the expertise in order to really take this concept and create something lasting and meaningful.
I mean, it's because when we're talking about this is 2000.
Yeah, so the timeline is...
Was this when this
So
is when the brand
2000
launched?
is when he created his practice and he was using different brands. But around 2007 is when he was kind of expressing his frustration. So this is 2007, we started creating the first concept and the first product. And we didn't launch the brand in retail until 2012. So we are one of these very long-term view brands where we took our time.
And I can only imagine, like you say, taking your time over those years, like the kind of intensive development it takes to create such high performance skincare products. Like it's, I'm thinking of it in myself, like the testing and the rounds of the sampling. We speak to, there's this kind of new wave now, which I am with you. I like that long-term approach, but there's this new wave of kind of like done is better than perfect. And I appreciate the sentiment that, of course, brands will evolve over years and you're not going to get it 100% right, and there'll always be something that you could do differently. But I do, for something to be the level that you want, it isn't, you can't rush this, can you?
Not when it comes to, I think not when it comes to serious skincare, because skincare can be fun and exciting, but also for us, skincare is a very serious business. Skin is your biggest organ. It's a living, breathing organism. So for us, it's very important that whatever you put on your skin has very, very deep research, understanding, and longevity. And I'm glad that you touched upon this, because this is the day of age where brands are being launched. I was on a press trip in Turks and Caicos launching one of our beautiful new spas with American journalists, and while we were there, at least 5 skincare brands launched in the 3 days that we were sitting together with press. And it wasn't just me on the brand side, it was also the press on the other side who were just saying that the market is saturated and this is not normal for so many brands to come into the space. And I think, unfortunately, I mean, we are the opposite. We are the brand that took more than 5 years. We stayed in our surgical clinic for so many years before we even launched the brand, because for us, this was a success story already. If we were providing a treatment for our patients to help them heal after surgery faster, we didn't want to sell the products to the outside world. But what happened is that the patients were reacting in such a positive way, and they were then coming to Yanis and saying, we stopped using, so-and-so brands that they buy from department stores. So it was a reversal in a sense. First, he was afraid, why are they not using the brands that he's recommending? And then we had a situation where they couldn't stop using...
Because it was all, I suppose, the beginning of it was supposed to be a little bit more, it was part of the service.
Exactly.
Not really a mass.
We did not sit in a boardroom and said, we need to look at the future financial opportunities for us and let's create a skincare brand. It was very much, how can we satisfy a demand for our clients in the clinic? And we would not have launched a skincare brand if we didn't have something new and unique. We were very fortunate that Yanis and the team of scientists that he worked with understood the strength of an ingredient that had not been used in skincare before. So we used an ingredient that's used in hospitals to save lives. And we integrated that ingredient into skincare products because we wanted to accelerate the healing of the skin. So we were the first brand to use this ingredient, and we did not go to a laboratory. As you asked the question, how long does it take? It was more than 2.5 years because we were developing our own product. We had to test it, we had to integrate it into a formula, and we did not go to a lab and said, so what is the latest in skincare?
Well, that's then what you call true innovation, right? So At what point, I'm curious to know, because like we said, this wasn't, you'd already won, because you'd already developed the thing that you needed to kind of satisfy the customer base and develop something that didn't exist and that you could use in clinic. At what point do you realise that this is actually now bigger than the clinic?
I love what you said. We already won, because this is exactly how Yanis and I felt when we had the products in the clinic. It was even given for free. The dramatic healing serum that we developed was as a post-service to every patient that had surgical and non-surgical treatments. And we couldn't keep enough, because the fact that it was given for free, they would come back for the post-op and say, I need 2 more.
Some more of that.
Just 3 more. And I think there was a famous lady who came and said, I need 50 more. And Yanis is like, 50? Like,
Are you eating it?
And she said, no, I want to give it to my sisters. She was from the Middle East. I want to give it to my, my whole entourage. And Yanis is like, I cannot keep up this demand, because somebody wants 50,
Yes.
I also need to satisfy my patients who have surgery. So the turning point was actually Harrods. Harrods has been super instrumental in the development of our brand. And I think if it wasn't for Harrods, we probably still would be very happily, just producing products for our patients. But it was, we had a chance to meet with the buyer in Harrods. She was intrigued with the products. I think if you have her on the podcast, she probably would tell you the story better than I can. But they were starting to introduce a lot of the doctor gadgets. So it was the Clarisonics and a few other products. And they were one of the first department stores that had a whole section for gadgets.
Right.
And they were actually actively looking for a doctor brand that's going to kind of be used alongside the technology. Mm-hmm. And shockingly, there were not enough doctor brands way back in time, despite the fact that today you have a brand launching every minute. This was the time of, I think it was Dr. Seeback, Dr. Pericon, and there was just
very
not
small.
enough.
You're right.
Very
I can't
small.
think of any.
Very small. So we had to go through a vigorous testing. I think every single manager level in Harrods had tested our products, because I think for them it was a risk to take a brand that only exists in a doctor's office and launch it to all of their very discerning clientele in Harrods. So they tested and they kept asking, can we have 10 more pods, 5 more pods? We want to give it from the top to, the salespeople on the shop floor. And I remember we were in Miami on holiday, and they called us and they said, we're launching the brand.
My gosh. And what was that moment like for you both?
I mean, Yanis and I were absolutely shocked, because Yanis was more scared than I was. He actually came to me and said, look, I am a little bit, I know we have a good product. I know my patients love the product. I can see the results post-surgery. He was observing accelerated healing. Mm-hmm. And basically, we realized that the reason why his patients were coming back and asking for more product is because their overall health of the skin was improving, not just where the scars post-surgery were. So immediately, we started understanding that there is an overall repair happening with our complex, which is NaCY2. But Yanni said, look, I need to do clinical studies because I don't trust my patients. They all tell me how much they love the product, but I'm also their doctor. So I want to make sure that they are not just telling me that because, they like my work. They love me and they love my work. So we told Harrods we need to do clinical studies. So we actually delayed a little bit the launch. We found an independent laboratory in Paris. We sent the product. We had to wait for, I don't remember now, but it was a few months. Mm-hmm. They sent us the results and they were super, super, even more positive than we expected. It was not how people feel, but actually with instruments measuring the size, the depth of the wrinkles, and they were ultra, ultra positive. So we had to launch, but then we had a problem. We didn't have a brand name. Because the products,
of course. I didn't even
the products were
that.
in the clinic. They were called Dr. Yannis Day Cream, Dr. Yannis Night Cream, Dramatic Healing Serum. There was no need for brand name because it was basically the products were given to the patient.
Almost a service-based product, right?
So So it was really, that was a great moment because we were on our dining table. Actually, Yanis at that time had a few, very, very knowledgeable patients. Some were working in agencies, some were working in beauty. So we kind of tapped into the knowledge of a few of the people around him, and we started kind of drawing things, and it was very interesting. Some were like, Dr. Eva Alexandridis, Dr. Y, Dr. YA. And we said, no, your name is too complicated. We're just not gonna use your name. And luckily, I think it was Yanis actually who came up with, he said, why don't we use my clinic name where actually these products were born? And he practices at 111 Harley Street in London. And that's where he has been in the last 25 years.
Wow,
So,
I did not know this
yeah.
that's so interesting. I love that. Did the branding instantly become clear? Was that something you were both excited about, or something that you outsourced at the time?
So basically, it was just Yanis and I. We didn't have anyone else. We had our own laboratory. We were producing in our own laboratory. So we had a team of scientists that worked for us, but we didn't have marketing manager. We had people that we were tapping in and out. So I think that's where two founders are better than one, because my husband loves surgery and he loves being a doctor. So there was never a point of him considering, I'm just gonna now focus and pivot, try to run another business.
Right.
He wanted, his passion is being a surgeon. So I had the time I started going to conferences, I started going to trade shows. So I would go to Hong Kong Cosmoprof, and I would go to Korea. I would go to different places looking for packaging, looking for the latest technology. So the formulation was set. The formulation was perfect, impeccable. We had no one assisting us with the formulation apart from Yanis and our scientists.
Right.
So it was our proprietary formulation. But everything else we needed to learn, because none of us actually... Yanis comes from the beauty world and he is exposed to beauty people all the time, but he never ran a company before,
it's a
retail,
completely different landscape,
product
isn't
company.
it?
Yeah, he's in the service industry. So it was very fast learning for me, but I knew exactly what I wanted. I was very set on the colors that I wanted. I wanted specific packaging, which was made of glass. At that time, 2010, glass was the most abundantly recyclable component, and I really wanted to make sure that I have glass. Yanis wanted it to be airless, so there was only one company in the world that would produce airless glass packaging.
Wow.
I love magenta because I wanted us to look different. I didn't want us to be the same as the standard. Especially, I was trying to create something that doesn't look like a doctor brand.
That's what I was just going to say, because you associate those like kind of doctor-led brands of appearing, they've got quite a clinical aesthetic.
Exactly.
But actually yours feels so luxe and something that's like a treat in the evening. You know what I mean? Versus, you can tell that there's been that real kind of influence from you.
I take full credit for that. 0 credit on the formulation and on the science, but full credit on the touch and feel, on the sensorial part, on the packaging, and on the feeling, because for us was important. I think where the reason why One on Skin is successful is because we took a very scientific approach to beauty, but we merged it with this beautiful sensorial touch and feel. And when we launched that, this did not exist.
And it's so true. And I think what is so interesting is over the years, obviously brands have to evolve. They have to keep moving and keep growing. But what you do is such a high level of high performance skincare. And like you say, there's a different brand launching every day, and it is in a market that's quite saturated. So how do you stay true to your core values and keep the brand messaging what it's always being and what you were innovating at the time? How do you keep that alive in a sort of market that is getting so saturated and so crowded? Obviously you are such a main stake in that, but how do you, I suppose, keep up with constant trends is probably the wrong word, but the way that the pace of that market is moving?
We keep up by innovating. I think it would have been a big mistake for us if we had created an amazing complex, had never been used before. We knew that it was helping with accelerated healing. And basically what happens is you have invisible damage to the skin every single day. I don't want to create like a doom scenario that on a daily basis you see damage, but there is damage that happens to the skin based on the environment. And if you heal your skin on a daily basis, you basically delay the aging. So we knew that that was a winning premise and it was working, but we also would have been very foolish to stay with just this specific formulation and this specific concept and not keep innovating.
Yeah.
And if you look at Yanis's surgical technique, for example, he definitely does not perform the same way surgeries as he did 20 years ago when he started. He attends, global conferences. He has to maintain his American certifications. He presents to many places around the world, and so his surgical technique has been evolving, and we needed the products to evolve as well. So a perfect example is the original product that we created has NaCY2, which is our complex, accelerates healing of the skin. 5 years ago, we were very fortunate to understand that now there's a different technology where you can encapsulate your technology, so it gives more stability to the ingredients, but also it allows it to go deeper and have a slower release. So that's super advanced technology, but it required a lot of time and effort for us to integrate it, redevelop our products, retest, and we needed to take that step because as a scientist, if you know that there's something better, you have to implement it. You cannot just, even though many of our clients would have been happy if they would not have known that there's all this new technology, but it's our duty as a brand that it's led by a scientist and a surgeon that we have to keep evolving. So I think this is the reason why we did start way back, 2007, 8. Now it's 2025. And I think we're still relevant as a brand because we are always looking at the latest innovation.
Yeah.
And we would use new technology, but we would also make sure that it's safe.
Yes.
Because safety is also, when you have surgery, you want to have the best result, but you also want to look at the credibility of the surgeon and you want to make sure that you're safe.
And you're right, like that all, it's, of course you innovate, and at that time then you create something that's never been done before, and then the other brands will come and they'll try to catch up, but you always have to keep innovating and keep, it's not, I discussed that with Joe Malone actually, that actually what's up here is your biggest currency, because you do something and you're onto a winning formula, and of course other people will try and match that, and we were calling it creative laziness, but they don't know what's up here, right? And they don't know what's next, so they are only sort of meeting what you've already done, but you're continuing to sort of storm ahead. And I think you can really see that from the outside. From going to the Harrods launch and knowing that then this was something that's then needed, and then I suppose that moment really snowballing, when everybody's talking. I remember there was that real period of time for me when I first stumbled across the brand that everybody was really talking about it, and it was people that I really valued. So I'd be getting my makeup done and they'd be like, you need to try these eye patches, or you need to try these. And it was your brand. And I felt, and I don't know if this was a strategy from you, and I'm so interested in this because I've noticed it's a strategy that actually a lot of brands take now. But actually there was a period of time that everyone behind the scenes were talking about your brand. And then I would say to my friends, everyone at work is using this. And then they would be, and that's kind of how that happens, right? The word of mouth thing. Was that something that happened consciously?
So this happened because we had no resources, and it was very organic and very natural. We were generous. If makeup artists discovered us before we discovered them, I don't know how exactly happened, but when they started using our products, they would fall in love with the products, and then they would come to us and request more product. And we always believe that the people behind the scenes have the biggest power, because you cannot fake it behind the scenes. You cannot. It's someone that a celebrity, for example, they're being they're being photographed, and constantly pictures are taken. So they have to look good. So their makeup artist has the duty to give them the best of the best. It has to be skincare that works. It has to do what it says. If they need the puffing, it has to be depuffing. If it's firming and lifting, it has to be firming and lifting.
It makes the makeup artist's job easier if the canvas is, if their client is using something that preps the skin in the right way before they then do their magic.
100%. So we were very fortunate. We had a lot of makeup artists discovering us in the inception of our company, and then they would give the product to their clients. Some of them ended up being celebrities, and the celebrities would then pose because they were quite impressed with the effect of the products on their skin. So we have not paid any celebrities. We were not paying makeup artists. This is all super organic, but at the same time, it's real because I think you have to really, in order to be strong and respected makeup artists, you have to use credible products.
Yes.
I mean, these are your tools.
Absolutely that. And like you say, the skin, and I know, from my makeup artist, that the first thing is like prepping the skin is now, and maybe years ago that wasn't looked at so much, but, it's definitely in the sort of last 10, 15 years, it's, people really realise that actually, of course, before makeup comes amazing skincare.
Yeah, this is, as you said, this is your canvas. But also we did something quite revolutionary in the beauty industry. We brought the Korean technology in masking into the Western world. And there's 2 points I want to discuss here, because you said something about people copying you and, they want to make things. We had to go the super hard way when it comes to masks. But also, I think we brought the most hardworking technology in the industry, and that's why makeup artists connected with us, because you need very good skincare to prep the skin, and that's very important. But we brought an extra step, which is our masking, which actually gives instant results. So we are very much a skincare company. Our core products are serums, eye products, our moisturizers are our hero products, but masks they complement the journey. They bring what we were discussing before about the sensorial experience and falling in love with your routine. But for us also, masks are quite serious. For us, our masks have to do what they say. So and this is all going back in time, in 2010, you would be shocked to remember that there were no masks being sold in retail environment. So for us, the big revelation was I discovered masks in Korea. I brought them to my husband and I said, "Do you think that this is serious skincare?" And he was very skeptical. Paper masks he automatically disregarded and basically just kind of told me, I'm not gonna allow you to even use it. And I said, no, I paid money for it, I'm gonna use it. He's like, use it on other parts of your body but not on your face. So until he opened a biocellulose mask, which I even didn't know that this is called biocellulose. He opened a mask that looked like a gel. And he said, wait a minute, this is biocellulose and it's used in wound healing in surgery. And he held it, he opened it, he explained to me, he said, this is, you see, he started talking to me like a real scientist. He said, you see these fibers, there's so much finer fibers, the absorption level is so much better. And he said, now I'm convinced to start looking at this. So what we did is we looked at all the biocellulose masks that were produced in Korea. None of them, according to him at that time, had quality ingredients, but the technology was interesting. So we decided to take the technology, but also infuse with our proprietary complex, our ingredients. So we created something that also hasn't been done before. We did not invent the technology, the mask technology, the mask matrix, but we infused it with super high-tech ingredients. So what we created is very fast functioning, very scientific mask technology. And I think this is why makeup artists were just onto us
Yes.
instantaneously, because we had the very first mask was for, healing of the skin, and Yanis was using it for his patients post-surgery, and they would really alleviate the tension and the pain on the skin. And then makeup artists started to understand that it calms the skin and it really allows them to have a perfect canvas. And then we created our under eye mask. So we had the first one, I think, was our black diamond. So
Yeah.
it's for fine lines and wrinkles. And if you do on one eye and not on the other eye, you would see a difference because it helps really soften the fine lines and wrinkles. Then we had a depuffing one, which is for if you had a late night and if you eat salty foods, or if it's allergy season. Actually, I had to use one today because everybody's sneezing.
Wow.
Then the rose gold. So we took masking in a very structured, scientific way, and we created the best masks
And do you
in
know
the
what?
world.
What I love is it's so ingredient led. But when I think of masks, and particularly the under eye masks, I think of you. Like there's I promise you, of course the behind the scenes and the purpose of the mask and the benefits of the product and so on and so forth. But what I think is also so interesting on the flip side of that is the marketing and the efforts behind the mask, letting us know about that and knowing that you are, if you're going to buy an eye mask, that I know that you're number one and then everything else is a little but from the outside, the way that you've positioned yourself there, and maybe it's because you were just so there ahead of the curve that from the outside looking in, that you are just that go-to brand. And it's so interesting. And I know that that's like a gorgeous gift for somebody, or if I'm buying something nice for a friend, I'll buy some masks, and that I know that they will like, even like baby shower gifts. I'm like, here's something for the baby and here's something nice for you. I think you've become such a trailblazer in that, which I find so interesting. Like I say, ingredients is one thing alone, but the marketing behind it has been so impressive to me.
Well, I would say that if it wasn't for Yanis being a surgeon, we would not have been able to really establish this category as it is now, because it's quite a prominent category, and I feel that we kind of led the way.
Yeah.
But I think the consumer needed to hear from a credible brand and a credible founder and understand the reasoning. I think especially the Western consumer, they were not convinced using Korean masks, because a lot of the masks were, I don't know, strawberry and all sorts of mango and something, I don't remember, horse jelly and all sorts of funky things. And sophisticated consumers were really, they didn't find this very appealing.
We weren't getting it yet.
But yet, us coming there's a surgeon behind the brand explaining the benefit of using this product, and also using it Yanis using this in the mask in his clinic to help patients heal after surgery, using it post-Botox, post-non-surgical treatment. We could have had this more serious, we started having more serious conversation with our clients in Harrods, when they would come and say, but what is this and how do you use it? And the team would say, well, this is biocellulose technology. It's used in wound healing. It's infused with all these really amazing skincare ingredients, and if you use it for 20 minutes, this is the transformation you would expect. I think then the dialogue became much easier.
Yeah.
And then makeup artists, who are really, really the people behind the scenes that kind of drive the success of the celebrities, them using the products on their clients and saying, look, this is credible. This is not some kind of jelly with papaya only that we're just going to put for you for a second to feel good. This is going to give you a result. I think that's where we started to gain a lot of momentum. But having said that, it took us more than 5 years.
Yeah.
We had no marketing budget. So even though you might see it from the outside world that we had an amazing sensation with the masks, it was one client at a time, one makeup artist at a time. And now it's so interesting because we launched the first mask 2014. Now it's 2025. 11 years later, look at how many brands are launching masks.
Exactly my
And
point.
they look very similar to us, but where were they 5, 7, 8, 10 years ago when it was really hard to establish this category? But we just kept persevering because
Which
we
is
believed.
why you can see the way that you trailblazed that market. You really, really can. And I think what is so interesting too is, like you say, that all those years later, think how almost saturated a part of that market isn't it become kind of that novelty thing that you were seeing, like the wellness girls taking a selfie in the mirror, and everybody wanted to know that I know what the eye masks are. It became that thing, didn't it? I think also what's really interesting is that you said that if you ask now anything or any Korean inspired skincare, it's so hot, isn't it? It's such a kind of, like, on social media, it's such a kind of trending bit of dialogue, like, watch me whilst I'll do my Korean glass skincare routine. But actually the fact that you've been looking there for that technology for such a long time, I think it's almost like the consumer is just catching on to everything a little later.
Yeah, I mean, I think we took the Korean the Koreans are amazing at trends.
Incredible.
I wouldn't 100% say that they're superb in ingredients, or at least depending what you stand for as a brand. For us, it's never just about one ingredient. It's about having the right cocktail of ingredients that are going to work cohesively with your skin.
Yeah.
So I think our products are, now most of them are made in Switzerland. We do make our masks in Korea, but it's still, I believe that the Western approach, it's probably slightly more scientific. And I think especially if you look at the doctor brands, hopefully there's a lot more long-term creativity and credibility that goes into developing products. And I know that the Korean brands are becoming trendy, but you still need to take the test of time.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And that's what I admire that you've done, and you continue to do so well. Before I move to our rocket round, I want to ask you, and it's something that we touched on the start, this dynamic between you both, how that you work so well with your husband. I mean, it's clear to see even the way that you speak about it from the outside. How has that been? Because I've spoke to different founders that actually, Jo Malone, and I know I referenced her before, but being one of them that has worked with her husband for her whole career, and she said that she couldn't and wouldn't have ever done it with anybody else, and it's been like the recipe for success for them. Emma Greed is the same. She works with her husband Jens across stuff. I've had on the flip side Chrissy Chella, who founded Honor Gymwear, which is an incredible brand, that she started it with her then partner, and they now continue to work with each other in the best way. But she is with somebody else, and it actually become the business she believes become the end of their relationship. I find the dynamic. I work with my husband, so I do love, not on my brand but across other stuff, and I actually really enjoy it because for me, I feel there's no one that I trust more. And we've found quite a good way of leaving anything that needs to stay at home. But how do you find that dynamic?
For me, I'm very fortunate because actually we don't work together. My husband is very much practicing plastic surgeon. So today he's in surgery. I did not even see him this morning. He left before I left. But we take inspiration from his knowledge and expertise in the field. He's very much the science behind the brand, but he doesn't run the business day to day. I have a team. Actually, I have 90%. My team is 90% female.
We love to hear that here.
I run it with my really trusted team that I love and adore. And Yanis has a very, very strong presence and advisory role and vetoes every single product. But the day to day, he does not we don't sit nose to nose, and I very much cherish and value that.
Yes.
And I often laugh. I said my husband works for me, because when I meet him, I call him.
I love that. That's so good.
But if you ask him, he would tell you the same, that I don't think One Skin would exist without either one of us, because very serious people have sat on this chair, and you understand more than anyone else that it takes a very long time to build a brand. Our brand has been in existence for more than 15 years. There's so many silent battles behind the scenes.
Yes.
I mean, on daily basis, entrepreneurs are facing so many battles. And actually, there were times in the development of the brand where there were question marks if we would continue to exist. So having someone that you love and you unconditionally trust is very important. But I think from Yanis's perspective, having someone that can run the business day to day, like me, that he values and trust, it's very important. I think he goes to surgery not stressing about what's happening on the One Skin side. And for
You're
me,
doing that instead.
I stress every day. He has other things to stress about. But I think also for me, knowing that we have the science 100% covered, no one else is more exposed than a surgeon.
Your roles are completely different. I think that's what's clear. And I think that's probably that makes it sing in the way it does, because you have completely different roles and you trust each other implicitly. There's no one better that would back the science than Yanis, and there's no one better that could handle the business than you. So I think you probably lean on each other for those strengths.
Yeah. And I wouldn't want to do anything from what he does. I just recently happened to be with him. He was presenting at a master's conference for deep plane facelift. He was giving a paper and doing live surgery. And I actually, for a minute, I tapped into his world, because I'm very busy in my One Skin world. And I just realized that's a whole different world that I do not like to be involved.
Yes.
And, putting people 100%, to sleep and operating and knowing the latest techniques. But I think the value for us having him is that because he cuts the skin, we understand the 3-dimensional healing of the skin and all the processes. So I never have to go deep into the science, because he does it.
He does that for
but
you.
we actually, it's been a perfect unison working together, and I don't want to change it
You
for
can
anything.
tell. You can. I mean, there's definitely no need to change it. Why would you? If it's not broke, you don't fix it. I want to do our rocket round now. So every episode, I ask our guests the same questions, and they're supposed to be quick fire. We like to talk on here, so it's never that quick.
Fantastic.
But we'll try. First one.
Take my tea.
Yeah, you get your tea, girl. The first one is, what do you believe are the non-negotiables for launching a business?
If you don't have something new and revolutionary, or it doesn't, if it comes to product, definitely new ingredient, new concept, something that's missing on the market. If it comes to service, improving, people's experiences, I think don't do it, because you have to always have the consumer in mind, and to bring something that it's similar to what already exists but slightly more improved is just not enough. You have to have a revolutionary idea, and then your journey is going to be so much easier, because you're going to have so much more conviction to keep forging your path.
I love that. When did you first realise that you truly launched?
When I realized that we truly launched in 2012, when we had no resources to hire we had our launch day in Harrods. So we showed up, we did some pictures. I think the Harrods marketing team came. We were on one shelf, like this shelf, 5 products on one shelf. And then we had to come the night before and install our windows. They give you like a tiny little window, and basically the price that they gave us for this installation was so expensive. We're like, no, we can produce like another 100 products for this price. We don't have financial resources in this company to be hiring installation companies. So Yanis and I and a few of our friends went at 12 midnight, put the hats, the yellow hats, went into the Harrods back entrance, opened one of these windows, like put the product on the Harrods window, closed the thing, and we were escorted out. So that's when I realized, okay, our product, somebody is gonna walk there tomorrow in front of Harrods and is going to see one-on-one
see it.
skin and then walk. So that was a moment where we were kind of like,
This
we
could
have
be
arrived.
big. Yeah.
We have
Yeah,
arrived.
yeah.
This is the best department store in the world. And we have a tiny little shelf, but we have a shelf.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah. And now actually it's Harrods has been it has been the barometer of our success. Because if you look at how we look now, we are next to Sicily and Creme de la Mer. We have beautiful counter.
Not a tiny window anymore,
Not a
girl.
tiny window. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, that. I love that. What's the first thing you do when you wake up and the last thing you do before you go to bed?
The first thing that I do when I wake up is I kiss my husband.
Ah.
2 days a week he's not there because he goes to surgery. But the thing that I do consistently is I would do some kind of physical activity. It's
Right.
kind of the first thing on my list. It might not be the first thing I do, but either I would go for a run, I would put a YouTube video, I would do a little session, but it's definitely workout before anything else,
Yeah.
before food, before emails, before work. It's a physical exercise.
That's the moment of the day that you take for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what time do you normally wake up? Early?
Around 7:30.
And then active
Yeah.
straight away.
Active, and then if I run in the park, I'll be home at 9, and then I have my routine. I'll have a green juice, I'll have our supplements, I'll have breakfast, I'll start my day, but physical activity before anything else. And it works miraculously for me all over the world. Doesn't matter where I am. If I'm in New York, I would run the Brooklyn Bridge. If I'm in Vancouver, if I'm somewhere by the sea, I would go for a swim. But it's always the first thing because I feel, maybe because of my age, I'm going to be 50 this year. I feel like it's even more necessary than ever for me to just have this kickstart.
Yeah.
And it's not so much for my body, it's for
I couldn't agree more.
my mind.
Because we often say, and one of my friends is a Pilates instructor, and she's got this saying that she says that you're so in your body that you're out of your mind. And I think that is so, so important, isn't it?
I
That
love
you
it.
do something that you're just so in it that you it's the only time that you switch off.
Yeah.
It's important. We
It's very
need that.
important.
We all need that mentally. What's one piece of advice that you wish that you hadn't listened to?
I would answer it differently. I think one thing I wish I had listened to
Okay.
would be my intuition. I really, really, I mean, you should not have regrets. I think every failure is an opportunity for learning. I don't regret it, but I can now, if I look at the passage of time, I can definitely spot that I was spot on right on a few judgments, which I kind of allowed other people to overrule me. And I wish I was more...
You listen to your guts.
Listen to my gut, more convinced at my own abilities to know what's right. And I mean, now I am at my 50s, I am very, very
But do you
strict.
think that is an age thing too? Like, as in, like, not necessarily an age thing, but maybe an experience thing and
Yeah, it's an
trusting yourself a little bit more? Because I think when I look back, like, I'm 30, end of my 30s now. But when I look back to me in my 20s, there are so many times when, and it goes to what you're talking to, that I knew I was right, but maybe I didn't have the confidence to, or maybe the belief in myself.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a bit more self-doubt, and
Yeah.
every year that goes by, you know yourself that bit more, and I suppose you know what things to listen to, right?
It's true. It takes time, but it also, I think it takes a few failures for you to understand that actually your voice was right.
Yes.
So I would say for me, what it has taken me to understand that my convictions, I need to follow my convictions and my beliefs, is also being surrounded with people that maybe society thinks that they are extremely smart and they know the right thing. And for me to know that even their judgment was wrong.
Yes.
And
Because nobody knows you better than you.
Exactly.
That's it. We just have to
Exactly.
remember that. What's a skill that you'd love to learn?
Dancing.
Oh,
I'm actually on my way of learning it.
right. Tell me,
Yeah.
what sort of dancing?
So, kind of like a Zumba Latin
Nice.
dancing.
Yeah.
I go every Saturday, and I have almost mastered a few routines.
Love this.
And the funniest part is that my husband, from time to time, I have convinced him to come,
Oh,
and
that's so good.
that makes the dancing even way more interesting, because looking at him struggling and like trying really hard, and you can see at the end of the day, it's mostly ladies, so we kind of look like happy and
Yeah.
not too sweaty, and then my husband is like drenched because
bit
he
awkward.
put so much effort into it. But yeah, I just want to kind of frivolously be able to dance in a
Yes.
beautiful way and kind of just like move around the room.
Strictly Come Dancing next year for you.
Yeah.
There we
yeah.
go. There we go. Put that glittery
Challenge.
number on before
Challenge.
you know it. Absolutely. What's one thing you wish someone had told you before you started your business?
I mean, I would go back to this. Follow your intuition
Yeah.
and believe in yourself. No one knows. I think as a founder, your journey is longer. I think the people that work for you, I'm very, very thankful. I have phenomenal team, and I'm very thankful for having them, but they don't have the same path as I do, because for me, this is my only business. And I cannot fail in this business. And I think a lot of the people that work for me feel the same way. They feel like they belong and they want us to fully succeed. But if something happens, then they would move to something else. And so for me, everything is the thoughts that happen in my mind, and all the conversations and all the hard work is just, it's longer. The whole process is longer. So I have to trust myself,
Yeah.
because I'm in it 24/7. So I wish, honestly, I could have made different decisions, but I'm very thankful because we're still
You
here.
wouldn't be where you were.
Yeah,
where
so
you
the
are now.
decisions, even though I took much longer path, it's still sustainability is very important.
Yes, absolutely that. Oh, what would be the dream collab for your brand?
Oh, we are.
And that can be like in terms of, I don't know, an ambassador, or in terms of we're seeing these like brand on brand collabs now a lot more. So have you ever?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is now the age of collaborations. Everyone is collaborating. There's so many opportunities. I think you have to be super considerate, because not to jump on the opportunity to collaborate simply because everybody else does
Yeah.
it. So I think for us, we are exploring, and a dream collaboration for me would be, let's say we do something with Rimowa, because we have so many of our products are,
Yes.
people take them. We have been so fortunate because people show how they use our products on the plane,
How
on the
they travel,
go.
yes.
So something with travel would be really exciting. But I also want to be super, super considerate, and I always tell my team, these collaborations are fantastic, but do people do them just for marketing, or do they do them because there is a real need for the consumer to
Yes.
experience something different? So I wouldn't do it just for the
Because-
marketing side of things, but I would do it if we create something together we wouldn't be able to create on our own. And
yes.
we have been, I think we are one of the, we as a brand, we have always stayed in our path. You can see we don't have hair products, we
Yeah.
don't have makeup products,
Yeah.
simply because we believe we are experts. We are probably the best in what we do, and we don't want to distract ourselves. But the collaboration would give you an opportunity to really kind of venture a little bit out of, use experts
yeah.
that can bring something more unique, a unique point of view,
different
and a
reach.
different product. Yeah. So
Okay,
we are.
That's interesting. I
There's
like
a
that.
list.
And like
There's
you
a
say,
list.
the travel is quite interesting for you, because you're right. That's all you see of everyone on the plane, and it makes sense. Makes sense. If you could choose one female figure as a mentor, past or present, who would that be?
I'm quite, I'm extrovert, introvert. So I'm very kind of into my family and like my
Yes.
small circle. So I would say my mentor would always be my mom. I've always admired her journey. She also comes from very simple, like a broken family. She lost her mom when she was very young, and then she ended up being a hostess because only the most beautiful girls in Bulgaria could be actually hostesses. They were judged, based on how they look. Appearance. And she always looked so put together, so beautiful. And then all her life, she worked really, really, really hard. And for me, the most important thing is to work hard. I think if you have a good idea and if you work hard, you would always succeed. So my mentors for me are people that are just always super, super, super dedicated to what they do. And you have to put the hours and the time in order to be successful.
Got the best mentor, there. And I always ask our guests we leave a tip every episode. One piece of sort of real tangible advice that you would give to a lady looking to launch. If there was someone that was looking to launch in a similar vein to you and maybe had a similar background to you, what would that piece of advice be, do you think?
I would say prepare yourself in a positive way, that it's going to be a few years of hard work. Don't start a brand thinking that you know it all, you're going to have the shortcuts and you can make it happen in a few years, because you would be disappointed. I think if you have the mindset that this is a long-term project, it's going to be minimum 5 to 7 years, you would have to put the time and the effort. There would be success at the end, but just prepare yourself for long hours, hard work, but enter with a positive attitude that you can do it, but you would have to put the time. And I think I had this mistake, because I've thought when we launched the brand, I've thought that, we have an amazing product and it's going to be something that's just going to take off, because it just, we were seeing the results in front of our eyes. And we knew that the industry was missing something, super, super highly scientific. And still it took, look, we're sitting now, it's 15 years later. And I feel that the brand only in the last 4 or 5 years has started to gain more momentum and more brand awareness. And it took me more than 10 years.
Yeah.
So I would say for the younger generation, especially, they're a little bit impatient.
Want everything instant.
Yeah. And actually 5 years, 5 to 7 years, it's not a huge amount of time in the big scheme of things. We all gonna live healthily until 80, 90, 100. So what it is, 5 years, 5 years is not such a long time, but allow yourself that period to know that you would chart the path for minimum of 5 years of really, really hard work. Almost consider it as if you went to university, it's 4 or 5 years of hard work. So
it's
prepare yourself.
Such valuable advice. Like you say, I think we're in a generation now where namesake, Instagram, everyone wants everything instant because you see it and someone's got a company and they've got a shiny office and you think that that's what you have to have on day one, but that isn't actually how it works, right? Lastly, we talk about ladies who launch, but I always like to end on ladies who lunch. So how does a typical day look for you? How do you spend your lunch hour? I mean, what we've discovered on this podcast is not a lot of us get to make time for a lunch hour because we're all too busy.
This is the lunch hour.
This is the lunch hour, exactly that. But how do you normally spend your lunch? Where are you? Who are you with? And what are you eating?
So I'm not a lady that lunches. I rarely have lunches. My lunch is usually close to 3 or 4 o'clock, this is just naturally when I just kind of do a lot of my meetings. I want to have everything done and then have a little bit of break. I would have something super healthy. Sometimes can be just a matcha, or can be a smoothie, or can be just a little toast with avocado around my office. We're in Fitzrovia, so we are blessed with so many little places. But my lunch is usually short, or if it's long, it's a walking lunch meeting. Okay. So I would take a liquid drink
and get your steps in.
And get my steps and either walk with my CEO or with my HR director or just the salesperson that works for me that I want to learn. So I try to have active lunches and not like heavy food, but I do not have a time to sit and enjoy more than
Order
a 3-course
meal.
No.
Who does?
No.
Who does?
No. It's
but so you quite like to multitask through lunch?
I do. I wouldn't. I would multitask if it's something that doesn't interfere. Like I would never have my phone during lunch, for example.
Okay.
I love to sit with someone or walk with someone and chat with them, and while we have our lunch, I would not have device. I would not be answering emails.
I like that.
And I have forbidden my team to do that. When I see them eating in front of the computer, I always tell them off because I think food, small or large portions, should be indulged, and you have to take the moment to appreciate if you're eating something, if you're fueling your body, but at the same time, if you can have a conversation, then it's even more pleasant because it's shared experience.
So true. And stepping away from devices.
Oh yeah,
I'm taking that one.
No, the device is a big deal for me. At night, my children know. Sometimes I go to the bathroom and I see them. At dinner, we don't have devices.
Yeah, we're very strict on that.
But then if I go for 5 minutes away, I come back and I see them under the table because they know that when I come, like everything has to be off.
Yeah. I do that with the children, and I put their tablets or whatever on charge, and like they'll be on charge, but and I put that's the thing, at a certain time everyone's goes on.
Yeah.
And I can see like them hanging off the sofa sets on charge. So you think that I can't see, but really, I can. It's important. It's important to take that time when that you're all present at meal. Particularly with the family at meal times, we make sure that I put my phone over the other side of the room, and however long that is, that we all just try and do that together.
I agree.
But thank you. Thank you so much. As you know, I've been such a fan for such a long time, and it's so nice to speak to the lady behind it all. And it's everything. Your journey has been so nice to watch and so impressive. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for our lunchtime together.
Yes,
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
We've enjoyed our tea for lunch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't forget to follow us on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcast to make sure you don't miss out, because next time we're going to be talking to another incredible lady who launched. If, like me, you're a watcher, then don't forget to follow us on YouTube, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.